Hello y'all, this is Vive Le Roi, a Hearts of Iron 4 mod that takes place in a world where the French Revolution failed. Continuing onward to the select country screen, we have a number of featured nations here, and they are France, Austria, the United Kingdom, Prussia, the Kingdom of Italy, the Ottoman Empire, the Tsardom of Russia, the Kingdom of Bavaria, Sweden, Ethiopia, the Kingdom of Egypt, the Dutch Congo, Mexico, the Dominion of New England, and the Empire of Japan. This modification start date is 1936, and I am having to run it on the Battle of the Bosporus version of Hoi 4, since that is the last version Vive Le Roi was updated to as of recording. And here is some just general lore it would perhaps be important to at least know for the sake of the setting. So the French monarchy, or the Entente regime, was able to stabilize somewhat and delayed many political movements as a result, and so the French Revolution never really took off, and the rivalry between the British and the French continued. And besides that, only a few years ago, before you begin the mod, there was a great conflict between the Entente and the Allies, and in summary, the Entente was the French, the German states, so I guess Prussia, Bavaria, maybe Austria, and the Ottomans, and that was the Entente, I think, and they fought against the Allies, which was the United Kingdom and all of their subjects, and Russia. And to say the least, the Allies won. So France, yeah, they don't really have much of their colonial domains anymore. Maybe the Italians helped the British. I mean, they have all of what could be considered usually in our timelines. 1936 is our timeline's 1936. French North Africa, French Africa in general, honestly. So I'm assuming they helped the British, or they were just given a lot of French Africa. What could be considered French Africa. And something else I should probably just mention is that the USA is kind of a loser in this timeline because they don't control any of the West Coast. That's controlled by the District of Columbia, the Dominion of Columbia, and Mexico. Also, the Dominion of New England exists, so Boston and New York belong to what amounts to a British puppet. And let's go to our political tab now, and here we have a number of ideologies, and there's 5 of them. There is Democratic, Communist, Nationalist, Paternal Authoritarian, and Enlightened Absolutism. And what is Enlightened Absolutism, you may ask? Well, it says here, maybe this is a sub-ideology, but going on, we're going to look at the ideology text for France, just to get an idea what Enlightened Absolutism is. It says, Enlightened Despotism is a simple ideology in which a single ruler holds supreme authority over the nation. Usually this rule is a monarchy or a dictatorship. This is justified by a moral principle and the idea that the ruler will uphold the ideals of the Enlightenment. Okay then. And so besides all of those new ideologies, ideologies in this mod, there is some national policies, and they are press laws, trade regulation laws, we have the National Academia, and diplomatic policy, and that's all the differences between the standard vanilla Hoi 4 political tab and Vive Le Roi. Let's now go over, the additions and alterations, I guess. So let's go to decisions now. We have something for the 3 estates up at the top, and this is a unique mechanic to France, I believe. Then after that, there is propaganda efforts, foreign policy, political actions, yes, economic policy, the secret rearmament. So France lost this timeline's equivalent of the Great War, so I suppose they're kind of like, say, interwar Germany from our own world in the 1930s. They're trying to rearm and get ready for another war perhaps, or at least get their army back to greater strength. And going to the research tab now, it's generally just like Vanilla Hoi 4 as a Battle of the Bosporus. So yeah, it's well before the reworks that were introduced with No Step Back and By Blood Alone. And let's see all the factions in the world. There are a handful, and they are the Allies and the Eastern Bloc, I think. And there's also one led by Prussia, and I think the Austrians may have one. So the UK and Russia, as of 1936 in Vive Le Roi, are the main global powers, and so the UK has the Allies, and that is it's them, the Dominion of Colombia, the Dominion of New England, the Dominion of Hawaii, British Malaya, the Kingdom of Egypt, the British Raj, New Zealand, the Dominion of Canada, and Australia. And moving on to the Eastern Bloc, and that's just, it looks like it's only the Tsardom of Russia. So what is the Prussian one, I wonder? That is just Prussia, it's the German Confederation, and the Imperial Alliance is just Austria. Yeah, so 3 of the factions, 3 out of 4 are just their own country. There's no one else in them but them. And that makes the UK's faction, the Allies, the only real one when you start out in 1936. And let's now go over all the nations in the world. We'll begin in South America, and here there is the Viceroyalty of New Granada, and they're a subject of the Kingdom of the Spanish Empire, and that is basically the equivalent of Ecuador, Venezuela, and Colombia, essentially. Then we have Spanish Peru, that is Peru and Chile. We have Rio de la Plata, and all these states are Spanish puppets. They're all puppets of the Spanish Empire. And then we have Brazil, which is a subject of the Portuguese. And so, with no French Revolution, there was no Napoleon to really shake up the political situation, I guess, in Latin America. And we had the British Empire here and some Dutch territory, in Northern and South America. And going to Africa now, we have the Kingdom of Morocco, and they're fighting a war with the Spanish Empire. Then we have the Kingdom of Italy, and they're controlling Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, a lot of West Africa. Liberia does not exist in this timeline. And we have British Africa. There's the Kingdom of Egypt. They're a subject of the British. There's Ethiopia. And in East Africa, we have the British and the Italians. And the Italians notably control Djibouti. Then going to the south, more in Central Africa anyway, there is the Dutch Congo. We have Portuguese Angola and Mozambique. And there is the Cape Colony, and they're a subject of the United Kingdom of the Netherlands. So it's not really South Africa, just the Cape Colony, that is the name of it. And we have Italian Madagascar. Wow. So Italian Madagascar exists in this world. Then moving over to Australia, they exist. We have New Zealand. Both of these states are subjects of the UK. There's the Dutch East Indies. We have British Malaya. There's the Spanish East Indies and the Philippines. There's an independent Vietnam. And Siam, getting more into East Asia. We have Yunnan. It's a divided China. We have a divided China. We have the Guangxi clique, a big communist China, led by Mao Zedong. So I guess it kind of replaced nationalist China, maybe? Where's Chiang Kai-shek, I wonder? We have Shanxi, Zaibei Sanma, Tibet, Xinjiang, Mongolia. There's Qing China. Here's the Republic of China. I guess they just control... Is that Beijing? I think, yeah, they control Beijing. I don't know what happened to Chiang Kai-shek. With the Empire of Japan. And going more over to the Indian subcontinent, there's the massive British Raj. We have Nepal, Bhutan. There's Tibet and Xinjiang again. And Central Asia is dominated by Russia. Here's Afghanistan. There's Iran. We have the Ottoman Empire, Syria. In the Middle East, they're guaranteed their independence by the British, and so is Palestine, who is an independent state. And we have British Yemen, and there's just the Ottoman Empire. And so going into Europe now, there is the Tsardom of Russia, who is massive. They control Finland, a lot of Eastern Europe, the Baltics, many places really. We have Moldavia, Wallachia, Bulgaria, and the Balkans. And going more into the Balkans, we have the Kingdom of Greece, Serbia. There is Albania, Montenegro, the Republic of Croatia, the Kingdom of Hungary, Austria, Prussia, and going into Scandinavia, there's Sweden, there's Norway. They're guaranteeing the independence of Denmark, and I think Denmark's guaranteeing their independence. Who controls Iceland and Greenland? It's the Danish. Not too shocking, but they do control it. And Vive Le Roi. We have the Duchy of Schleswig-Holstein, however you say it. There's the Kingdom of Hanover, the Kingdom of Saxony, Kingdom of Bavaria, the Grand Duchy of Oldenburg, the Rhineland Confederation. We have the United Kingdom of the Netherlands, and they have their 3 puppet states, and that is the Dutch East Indies, the Cape Colony, and the Dutch Congo. We have Switzerland, there's the Kingdom of Italy, and we already stated there's the Rhineland Confederation. And going more into Western Europe, we have France, the Spanish Empire, and Portugal. They're in Iberia, and we have the United Kingdom of the Netherlands and the Low Countries. They control everything in the Low Countries, and they have their puppets, of course, as well. Do they have Luxembourg? Yeah, I think they have Luxembourg. It looks like they do. And here we have the United Kingdom. They control all of the British Isles. And going over to North America, very interesting situation there. We have British Canada and Labrador and Newfoundland. There's the Dominion of Canada, the Dominion of New England. They're both subjects of the UK. We have, instead of the District of Columbia, there's the Dominion of Columbia, and this is more so a independent British Columbia puppet of the UK. There's the Tsardom of Russia and Alaska, so Russian Alaska. There's an independent Mexico, very large and gigantic Mexico, to control all the way up to Montana, and they border Canada. And there's British Honduras. We have Spanish Cuba, so they're a puppet of the Spanish Empire. Independent Haiti, who controls all of Hispaniola, so they have the Dominican Republic. We have Spanish Puerto Rico, and there's British Jamaica. And then lastly, there is the what is this? Oh, well, I forgot to mention them. Not lastly, actually. We have the Dominion of Hawaii, who's a subject of the British, but they are independent and they have some autonomy. And so we have the Federal Republic of America, and they're led by Alf Landon. So once again, there's the Federal Republic of America, led by Alf Landon. And with that, this has been Vive Le Roi. You can check out this mod in the video description. The link to it is there. What do you think of it? Tell me in the comments section below. And after you do that, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications.